Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Into the 99 podcast. Today, John and I are going to be bringing you some of the lore of Crimson Vow, as I've said for weeks that we've been doing, and then I just haven't been there to do it. Shamefully, sorry, John. Without further ado, let's get the pleasantries out of the way. John, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Dan?
Oh, not too bad. Busy week, but happy to be near the end of it. The busy season is upon me for making candles and stuff like that. But we'll get to that at another time. This week we're going to go over, basically there's just way too much Crimson Vow stuff. We're going to kind of just go over, Wizards gave us a lot of story. So we're going to go over their 5-part of the story, and then likely we'll have to go into the actual characters and the significance of like their own parts later on, like because they'll be in the story, but you may not know who this person is, what their background is. So let's, do you want to go over just the legends first? I don't know where that page is.
The legends? I have it right here.
Okay, yeah, let's quickly go over the legends, then we'll get into the episodes and we'll go from there. So you can start us off with the new legends.
All right, so our first up is Donald, Herald of Wings. It is a legendary human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell with flying, you may copy it, except the copy is a 1/1 spirit in addition to its other types. Do this only once each turn.
Yep, really, really cool one. It says that Donald's a devout worshiper of Avacyn. Her betrayal and subsequent unmaking left Donald feeling lost. He set off on a pilgrimage in search of deeper meaning. Several months later, after a night's sleep in a forest clearing, Donald was awakened by a symphony of birdsong. Opening his eyes, he found himself surrounded by both mortal and spirit birds. For the first time since Avacyn's unmaking, he felt at peace. He has since lived among the birds, their melodious calls providing all the spiritual sustenance he sorely missed.
It's a good card. I think it's interesting.
I think it's pretty cool, and I really do want to build that one still. I think it would be a fun deck to build.
Wait, Peregrine Drake has flying, right?
It sure does, yep.
Oh, okay.
So does Gilded Drake.
Oh, yeah, Gilded Drake. That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I actually kind of want to build him now.
Well, Peregrine Drake, if you do that, you'd untap your lands twice. That'd be strong.
Oh, Gilded Drake, you just take 2 things.
Yeah, double down. We have Jacob Hawken next. He's Jacob Hawken, Inspector. He has a flip, like a bit of an omniscience effect, kind of. He's draw a card, then exile a card from your hand face down. You may look at it for as long as it's exiled. You pay 4 and double blue if you do flip them, and then his flip lets you play cards from exile without their mana cost. But his lore is he was always an inquisitive mind, then combined with the uncanny ability to see geists and other spirits, even when they remain hidden. He has served him well as the foremost investigator for hire of strange occurrences in Innistrad. Young Jacob's already made a name for himself, especially along the Nephalia coast. Not only has he managed to solve quite a few mysteries, but he's done so without dying horribly.
So he's going to die horribly soon, it seems.
Probably. I'll let you take this next one here.
Ooh. Timothar, Baron of Wrath. Legendary creature, vampire noble. He has ward, discard a card. Those are my favorite wards when you have to discard. Those are the best cards with ward on them. Whenever another non-vampire you control dies, you may pay 1 and exile it. If you do, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. It gains when this creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it, and return the exiled card to the battlefield tapped.
And then you can read his lore there too.
I had Steam pop up on me. Timothar Markov is a cruel and powerful vampire, one of the finest to ever on the battlefield. Timothar is also going through a tough time right now. It can be hard to hear that your ex is getting married, especially when it's totally over. Sure, Timothar only dated Olivia Valderin for a couple hundred years, but it was real to him. He was last heard telling his closest confidants that while he would never actually go to her wedding, it would have been nice to get an invite. Sad.
Salty X, I like that. The next one we have is one I've talked a lot about, and it's a really, really fun deck to play. I just ended up putting it together. It's Toxrill the Corrosive. He's a new legend from Innistrad. It says, among the cults of Nephalia, there's no rivalry as great as the one between the Temple of Toxrill and the spawn of Grolnok. When the spawn supposedly summoned an avatar of their god, the temple followed suit, performing an ancient ritual and casting a little enlarging magic on a demon blood-infused slug. The result was Toxrill, a giant, rapidly multiplying horror that devoured half the temple just moments after creation. Toxrill's remaining worshippers ecstatically wait to pit their creation against the spawn of Grolnok's monster.
So in the middle of all this wedding invitations, we're just having kaiju fights in the woods?
Yeah, there's just these 2 giant slug and toad fight, like slug and frog fights. Grolnok's a really, really funny card too. Like he's a pretty entertaining one, but Toxrill is actually a very, very fun and very oppressive deck to play. For anyone who missed any of the episode that has it, Toxrill has an ability that creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. At the beginning of each end step, you put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. So like in a normal commander game, every time things are going to get -4/-4 every go around, which is nuts. And then whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, you get a 1/1 black slug token, and you can pay 1 black 1 blue, sack a slug, draw a card. The deck is pure gasoline. It's a high cost commander, but it's so fun.
You know, you told me about it, Dan, and I didn't believe you, and then I read. Now I believe you.
Oh, it's got, and it's a 7/7 for 7, which is pretty solid. It's a high mana commander to get out there, but once it's out there, it starts wiping the board really fast, and especially getting rid of all those tokens. It's pretty rough to come back from. Like if you have like a Krenko deck or something, and you have like 40 goblins out, and then I just get to end step, I'm getting 40 slugs. You're losing 40 creatures. It's a really strong card.
But I think Henrika's a little.
Yeah, I'll let you go with that one.
Henrika Damnathi. She is a vampire. That's it. Flying. At the beginning of combat, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature. You draw a card and lose 1 life, or a transformer. Her transformation, if it'll load. Henrika Infernal Seer. Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. She's a 3/4. 1 and 2 black. Each creature you control with Flying, Death Touch, and or Lifelink gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Yeah, that is a really good card. Yeah. But Henrika is also the progenitor of the Damnathi bloodline, vampires who bargain exchanging favors for the demon's powerful blood. Major bloodlines consider the Damnathi's potent magic dangerous even for vampire kind, and in ancient times the Damnathi were subject to many great purges. Henrika leads the survivors to this day and keeps a list of names written in vengeful crimson next. Olivia Valdarin has taken interest in the Damnathi magic and even invited Henrika to her in an effort to smooth things over. Whether Olivia's name is on Henrika's list or not, it is unknown.
I think she's a pretty interesting one. So yeah, Tauren's Fist of Angels is another new legend from the set. Tauren's is whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human soldier with training. Which it really does get out of control pretty quickly, especially you're in Selesnya. A lot of low-cost creatures are available. A hero to the common folk of Gavinry, Tauren's was not always the paragon of virtue that he is known to be today. In his past lies a sordid history of desertion from the ranks of the Cathars, theft of a wondrous magical weapon, and a trail of chancery as long as the king's own road between Gavinry and Kessig. It took a chance and terrifying encounter with the jailers of Iruth, the tormented prophet, for Torrens to realize his true path. Now a champion of poor peasants of Innistrad, Torrens wields his solar mace in defense of the people and trains them to defend themselves against the terrors of the night.
Nice little return arc.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Grolnok, the omnivore, 2 in green blue. He is a frog. Whenever a frog you control attacks, mill 3 cards. I like him already. Whenever a permanent card is put into your graveyard from your library, exile it with a croak counter on it. You may play lands and cast spells from among cards you own and exile with croak counters on them. Wow, that's stupid good.
Yeah, and then it's kind of just a similar play on what Toxrill's lowers. There's no more bitter rivalry among Nephalia's cults than between the spawn of Grolnok and the Temple of Toxrill. Seeking to get a leg up on their rivals, the spawn obtained what a passing merchant insisted was one of the Gitrog monster's eggs. They cast an arcane ritual on the egg, one passed down through generations of cultists, and a humongous oozing frog emerged. Declaring this monster the one true Grolnok, the spawn have dedicated their lives of doting on their god. Upon hearing that the temple had obtained their own monster, the spawn began preparations for their final battle.
Surprised these two things just don't eat the cults.
Yeah, right. I think it's kind of a funny little side story. We have Dorothea, Vengeful Victim. She's another one of the new legendaries. Among some of the countless humans mercilessly slaughtered by Olivia Valdarin over the years, and now is one of the numerous souls trapped in Olivia's wedding train. A skilled sorcerer in life, Dorothea specialized in bloodline magic. If she were freed from Olivia's accourtment, she could lend considerable strength to a blood relative in battle. Coincidentally, her great-grandson is among the Cathars rallied to attack Olivia's wedding. Then they have a little bit of lore of the partners from the new set. I'll let you take those ones.
Oh, partners. Oh, boy. Seriously, never seen a single card from this set. I've been
You've just been busy. You haven't caught up on them.
no,
Oh,
no. I just haven't looked at the card. This is all new to me.
yeah. This is so. These are the
Camber.
partners for the. There's two new precons. These are the partners for them.
Oh, okay. So Camber, Plunderer, and Loreen the Diversion. Camber is a vampire rogue. He partners with Loreen. Obviously, he has lifelink, and whenever a creature dies, you gain one life and create a blood token. It was legit. And then Loreen has pay to sacrifice an artifact or creature, go to target creature. So it kind of looks like you sacrifice a blood token, and then you goad something, and then you kill it with Camber.
Yep, exactly right. It's Camber and Lorraine had their next heist all figured out. Lorraine would scout the location and serve as a distraction while Camber grabbed the goods. However, they failed to account for the 1,000-year-old vampire that slept inside the tomb. While Lorraine can't shake the intrusive thought that their longtime partner might be tempted to eat her, it will take more than a little vampirism to break up Innistrad's premier grave-robbing duo. I like that. And then the other two partners are, which is a deck I still want to put together, by the way. It's Rhoda, Geist Avenger, and Timon, Youthful Geist. Rhoda's whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped. If it's not being declared an attacker, put a 1/1 counter on Rhoda. And Timon is, at the beginning of each combat, tap up to one target creature. Timon has flying. It says spirits typically do not cooperate with humans, and Cathars rarely tolerate the presence of geists. In various battles during the Travails, Rhoda and Timon coincidentally and repeatedly saved each other's life and unlife, respectively. They eventually came to the conclusion that they were stronger together than on their own, resulting in one of Innistrad's strangest team-ups. Although Emrakul has been sealed away, their partnership remains. Together they have helped humans, helped spirits, and are attempting to track down Timon's killer.
Nice story.
Yeah, this is the next one is the commander of the new set.
Oh my.
It's actually a pretty silly good card. You should take a look.
5 in Azorius. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each spirit you control. Also, his name is Restless Revenant. Costs 1 less for each spirit you control. Flying. Whenever he or another non-token spirit you control dies or deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. That's going to get out of hand fast.
It does. It says, vengeance is a shared desire by many of the spirits left in the wake of the travails, and Millicent is no exception. In life, I didn't even know it was a girl. In life, she was a mayor and captain of the guard of a small township. Having lost her entire family to various horrors of Innistrad, Millicent wanted to create a sanctuary for other people who had lost those close to them. Her small town grew into a medium-sized city made up of humans learning to heal. Then a mysterious tragedy wiped it off the map. One by one, Millicent and her citizens rose again as spirits, each with their own unfinished business. The spirits still held on to their sense of community, even in death. Led by Millicent, they travel the plane together, seeking the vengeance each spirit desires. They descend upon cities like a natural disaster. A cloud of spirits flood the street, leaving the dead bodies of corrupt officials or disguised werewolves in their wake. Yeah, they're pretty not cool all the time. The next one is, it's a set booster exclusive commander. It's Umbra's Fear Manifest. Gets 1/1 for each card your opponents own in exile. It's a 1/1 Nightmare Horror for 3, 1 blue, 1 black. When Umbris or another Nightmare or Horror enters the battlefield under your control, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a land. The bright light of Innistrad's Silver Moon casts long shadows as you travel through the Ulenwald. Near imperceptibility, perhaps spotting the corner of the eye, a black mist leaps between the darkness. It's impossible for you to tell if it's getting closer. It is. Is this the thing you sense, a demonic threat? A horror brought about by the monster's presence in the moon? A twig snaps and you turn around quickly, just in time to see a figure made of teeth and claws pull itself up to your shadow. So, no, returning legends. So we have Thalia, who's back. Thalia had quite the storied career before the Travails. As a young Cathar, she was declared the guardian of Thraben. She was forced to free demons by the planeswalker Liliana and ended up freeing the archangel Avacyn as well. She left the corrupt church and founded the Order of Saint Traft, fighting alongside the Geist of Traft himself. She battled the Eldrazi invasion. It's safe to say that she's a very brave and talented woman. At the moment, she wishes to restore Thraben to its former glory. The first step, clearing out a seemingly endless zombie horde. But first, she must answer a letter from her former mentor, Odric.
So, Odric has lore coming soon.
Yeah. So then we have Catilda. Catilda was a leader of the Dawnheart Coven. She led the effort to restore the balance of day and night to Innistrad. What's that banging, John?
That is just banging people walking around. They should be done.
Okay.
Uh, that's why I went on mute. I went to go yell at them.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna have to try to clean that whole section up here. Okay, so back to Catilda. Catilda was the leader of the Dawnheart Coven. She led the effort to restore the balance of day and night to Innistrad. Working alongside Arlen Cord and her fellow Planeswalkers, they succeeded in obtaining the Moonsilver Key and starting a ritual to correct the cosmos. It was then that Olivia Voldaren and her vampire horde swept in, severing Catilda's spirit from her body and trapping in the Moonsilver Key. There she gathers strength and waits for the perfect moment. We talked a little bit on the last episode about Geralf and Gissa. Geralf's back in with another card in this. Geralf Sassani is a talented stitcher, locked in eternal rivalry with his older sister Gissa. Of course, if you ask him, the whole situation's entirely beneath him, and his sister's pitiable actions barely deserve his inevitable retaliation. In recent years, Geralf has been studying under the master necro-alchemist Ludovic in an attempt to improve his craft. Ludovic's lab has proven to be a veritable playground, and Geralf's skills have progressed at an impressive pace. Although Ludovic has recently been acting erratically, Geralf has paid him no mind. He's fully dedicated to improving his craft, with the occasional detour to torment his sibling.
They have such a good relationship.
Do you want to take these next ones?
Oh yeah, Halana and Alana, partners. They're human rangers, and they're striking at the beginning of combat on your turn. Put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is Halana and Alana's power. That creature gains haste until end of turn.
Right, so it says the Forest of Ulenwald is home to many of Innistrad's most fearsome creatures, including werewolves, vampires, and the possessed. Alina and Halana, partners in work and life, safely guide travelers to the nearby town of Gatstaff, the former a temporary alliance with their enemies, the werewolves, in the wake of Emrakul's assault. However, with the onslaught of Eternal Night, their battles against the werewolves have resumed. We had Angie come back, Maid of Dishonor. Of all the vampiric bloodlines, Olivia recognizes that it's key to control the Falconwraths. Ruthless and crucial on the battlefield, any conflict between the Voldarens and the Falconwraths would result in unacceptable casualties on both sides. In a political move designed to assert dominance, Olivia selected Angie to be her maid of honor. Angie is an ancient scion. Angie is an ancient scion, as clever as she is mean. She's totally aware of what Olivia's maid of honor means, and is absolutely furious she can't do anything about it. She's currently formulating a plan, but hasn't got much further than drink a whole lot of blood at the wedding.
I mean, if you're gonna go to the vampire wedding, why not?
Yep. Next we have where are we? Sorry, Eruth. Yeah,
Eruth.
Tormented Prophet. Now, actually, this is a really cool card for Commander as well. It's 1/1 red, 1 blue. It's whenever you draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Instead, you may play those cards this turn. So I think it's definitely got like some cool potential for that. But it's mad, cursed, tormented by devils, speaker for demons. Eruth was called many things before her fellow townfolk locked her away in a damp and miserable keep. For her hearth, she said. For her protection, they said. So she would stop telling them how the world was going to end. They did not care that her dreams actually came true. They only cared that her prophecies did not spread chaos and panic. However, after a fated encounter with Tauren's Fist of Angels, she can now warn the world of the terrors. She can now warn the world of what terrors were hidden in the keep with her.
She's with the Selesnya guy with the mace.
Yep.
Oh, Old Rustine.
Yep.
When Old Rustine enters the battlefield or at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. And card is milled this way, create a treasure token. If a creature card is milled this way, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If a non-creature, non-land card is milled this way, create a blood token. That's really good. To fight the supernatural monsters of Innistrad, you need some special equipment. You can't deal with heist infestation the same way you'd handle a werewolf. That's where Old Rustine comes in. Whatever you need, he's got it. And at a better price than any other merchant, according to him. He's got stakes of all shapes, sizes, and materials. Need holy water? He's got a whole fountain. You cannot miss it. While he may have the air of a common man, Old Rustine's wares never fail to deliver, most of the time.
He's a pretty entertaining one. We've got Odric. Odric is back as well. Odric Bloodcursed. It says, Master Tactician Odric has always protected the human citizens of Innistrad. In his early career, he served the Avesian Church as commander of the Gavenry Riders. His Cathar troops followed with deep admiration for his stalwart values. When the church's leader, Lunarch Macias, died in a siege at Thraben, Odric joined the newly formed council that replaced the Lunarch. Odric disliked church politics, but felt his participation was necessary to protect the people. Although seemingly invited to represent Innistrad's military protectors, Odric was barred from voting on council matters. When he investigated this treatment, he discovered his council peers were actually demonic cultists. Disillusioned, Odric left the capital to join the Order of St. Traft, a new army raised by his protege Thalia, dedicated to the old values that Odric still had. However, a shocking vampiric encounter has left Odric changed. Can he resist his new murderous urges and continue as a champion of the people?
I thought he was a zombie, but he's a vampire.
Yes, he's a vampire. We have Runo Stormkirk, who's another vampire as well. Runo enters the battlefield. You can put up to one target creature from your graveyard on top of your library. Beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal it. If it's a creature card with mana cost 6 or greater, you can transform him. His lore is the progenitor of Stormkirk vampire bloodlines. Runo Stormkirk was a high priest in the service of an ancient god of the sea and storms. The vampires of his line are still drawn to the new cults arising in Nephalia. Runo himself has occasionally worshipped alongside mad human cultists on the Nephalian coast. With the onset of Eternal Night, Runo has decided the time is right to summon Crothus, a legendary kraken said to be more powerful than Kralamar itself. And then you can read the Crothus.
And Crothus, Lord of the Deep, he has flying. He's a flying kraken. That's wonderful. Whenever Crothus, Lord of the Deep, attacks, create an attacking token that's a copy of another target attack creature. If that creature is a kraken, leviathan, octopus, or serpent, create 2 of those tokens instead. So what's the green-blue serpent from Aldheim?
Yeah, but you're in black-green here. You can't get the green.
Yeah, I know, but if you had a 5-color commander and you put them together.
Good old Kraken travel. Crothus, an ancient, horrific kraken, slept deeply beneath the waves of Nephalia. The subject of worship by many cults, Crothus desires nothing but pure destruction. Extremely adverse to light, it was not willing to surface until now. Fueled by the eternal night, Runo Stormkirk performed a mystical ritual to compel Crothus to the surface. Unless daybreak soon, all of Innistrad is in danger from this hulking monstrosity. There's like a lot of like cool side stuff going on, which I think is entertaining. We have Edgar, who everyone knows who Edgar Markov is, but Edgar comes back as Charmed Groom. Other vampires you control get 1/1 when Edgar dies, returns to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. And its flip side is, hang on one moment, it's Edgar Markov's Coven. Yeah.
At the beginning of his upkeep, something like that?
Yeah, you can go ahead, read it.
At the beginning of his upkeep, you put a bloodline counter on it, make a 1/1 vampire, then if it's 3 or more, you transform him.
Yeah, so he just continues to come back, yeah.
Cool. I got it right.
He keeps making vampires. It's Edgar Markov is the progenitor of all vampires on Innistrad and Soren Markov's grandfather. Thousands of years ago, when Edgar's province faced a famine, a demon convinced him to find a way for people to gain sustenance from blood. He exsanguinated an angel to create the proper magic for these blood-empowered people, and the resulting ritual created vampires. Edgar lived to this day, although he spent most of his time slumbering in deep torpor in the cells of the warped Markov Manor. That coffin, however, has just gone missing, and Olivia Voldaren just sent out wedding invitations with his and her name on them. What exactly is going on?
Well, according to Olivia, a wedding. And she's also the next card.
Yeah, go ahead.
For and Rakdos, she is a vampire noble with flying and haste. Whenever Olivia Crimson attacks, return target creature card graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains when you don't control a legendary vampire, exile this creature. That is a really good card.
Really cool ability, right?
Exactly. But she is the head of the Voldaren bloodline of vampire, and she never forgave Soren Markov for the betrayal of creating Abyssin, the archangel who protected the humans from vampiric predation. She was pleased when Soren was forced to unmake his own creation during the travails, but now Sigarda and the other angels have taken Abyssin's place. With the darkening night, Olivia sees a new opportunity to seize power on Innistrad and inflict delicious revenge on Soren at the same time. Her plan is to revive and marry Edgar in a grand vampiric wedding, solidifying her power. Edgar is the progenitor of all vampires on Innistrad, and, as a bonus, is Soren's grandfather. She only needs to find a way to stop those meddling planeswalkers from restoring day-night balance.
And then the last one of the new legends we have is the face commander of the Rakdos deck. It's Stefan Morer Progenitor. And Streffen, is actually a really, really cool card. A 3/2 flyer. At the beginning of your end step, create a blood token for each player who lost life this turn. When Streffen attacks, you can sack 2 blood tokens. If you do, you can put a vampire from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until the end of the turn. That's really, really good. Like, to be able to swing with it and get something like a Butcher of Malachor out, indestructible swinging is rough, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think of Butcher. I forgot he was a card.
Yeah. So it says Strefan Mor is the progenitor of the Mor bloodline lineage of vampires and the lord of a remote part of Stesnia's outland valleys. As a human, millennia ago, Strefan admired no one other than his father. When his father met an end in an untimely accident, Strefan became obsessed with uncovering the secret to immortality. This obsession eventually led to a partnership with Edgar Markov, Olivia Voldaren, and the other humans who eventually became Innistrad's first vampires. Frustrated with his limited power and status as a minor vampire lord, Strefan treats his people with an incomparable cruelty. Sigarda attempted to intervene in the past, but Strefan was able to repel her forces. Angels have not set foot nor wing in his territory ever since. Strefan fears only one thing, his ancient familial estate. Abandoned when his father died, twisted and terrible things haunt its halls.
Huh. So we get even more side story here.
Yeah,
a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of I feel like we don't even have time to go fully into the actual story part today, so we'll save the story part for another time, and let's just talk a little bit about Soren, because Soren's a really, really recurring character on Innistrad and a very important one. So Midnight Hunt for Soren. Returning to Innistrad, Soren sequestered himself in the ruins of Markov Manor, grieving for the loss of Avacyn. Teferi, Arlen, Kea, Chandra, and the Cathar Adeline found him brooding in the throne room of his partially destroyed home. He seemed to be suffering from depression and nihilism, lamenting that everything he had done to protect Innistrad has been for naught, as all of his safeguards had fallen. He was annoyed upon their intrusion and refused to relinquish the Moonsilver Key, simply out of spite. He declared with anger that if his family wished to fall into depravity and hedonism of the eternal night after all of his efforts to save both of them and Innistrad, then he would happily wash his hands and leave them to their own devices, as he was now too tired to try to stop them. Arlen tried to convince him of the good he had done for their world, even feeling pity for the man, and attempted to convince him to see the entire plane as his family, not just House Markov. But she enraged him upon mentioning Avacyn. In his fury, he attacked them, but was stopped by Sigarda, who was called by Arlen's faith. The angel called out Soren for how far he had fallen, and how he now spends his time sulking instead of focusing on more important matters. Sigarda engaged in battle with him to buy time for Arlen and the team to get the Moonsilver Key and escape Markov Manor. And then, going into Crimson Vow, it's after the falling of Eternal Night. The Gatewatch once again approached Soren for help, after his grandfather agreed to marry Olivia Voldaren. He realized that Innistrad was once again doomed to be bled dry in a couple years. Soren teamed up with the Gatewatch to crash the wedding, but when guards stopped the rest of the group from entering the Voldarian estate due to the rest of the party lacking an invitation, he was forced to enter on his own. He made his way through the estate with a group of guards behind him, being mocked and laughed at as he did so until he finally reached Olivia. Olivia greeted him as she had his grandfather's coffin brought in, and hastily began to awaken him with her blood. Soren, enraged by this, realized that he did not wish for his grandfather to be hurt and made an attempt to stop her, but ended up being stopped when he was overwhelmed by guards armed with holy chains that they wrapped around his throat and dragged him away with. When his grandfather emerged from the coffin, Soren attempted to warn his grandfather that he was being controlled, but is ignored and instead dismissed by his charmed grandfather for ruining the festivities. Soren watched in horror as he is released, and one by one his relatives come up to him and greet him, kissing him on the cheek, although they did not speak to him, as talking with Soren always ruined the mood in Markov Manor. During the exchange of vows between Olivia and Edgar, Soren attacked Olivia. At the same moment, Catilda's spirit manifested by coming out of the key. Catilda used her powers to free the angel Sigarda from her prison. Being freed, Sigarda exploded her angelic aura in a fury that caused the surrounding stained glass to shatter, hurting or killing many wedding guests. Olivia and Edgar were not seriously injured. To escape Sigarda's ensuing wrath, Edgar fled into the mansion's sanguitorium. He was confronted by Soren, and the two came to blows as they hurled insult and viciously attacked one another. During their struggles, Edgar expressed disappointment in Soren's naivety and wasted potential. Soren struggled to understand his grandfather's careless views and experienced flashbacks to the time of their family's descent into vampirism. As if continuing his fall from grace, Soren came back to his senses to find Edgar standing above him and looking down in disgust. Soren had fallen into one of the Sanguitorium's blood pits and continued to reflect upon the past as he slowly sank into its depths. He eventually regained focus, drinking in the blood that engulfed him, which healed his wounds. Emerging with renewed power, Soren picked up a greatsword as he set out to put an end to his grandfather's foolish endeavors. Soren found Edgar in the main ballroom in the process of attacking Teferi, but intervened and quickly defeated him. Rather than killing Edgar, Soren showed mercy and ordered him to leave. In the aftermath, Soren seemed to acknowledge the connection between him and the other planeswalkers and their inherent desire to travel and explore. That's actually a really, really interesting part that I wanted to kind of stop at and just chat on a little bit. It finally seems that Soren might be one of the members of the Gatewatch coming forward.
That wasn't I could see. He was never really good at team playing.
Yes, but I think that he would make as we've said many times, the Gatewatch kind of doesn't have what it takes to really fight the current threats. We do know that Emrakul's in the moon. We know that the Praetors are still about, and with the new secret layer of the Praetors, I don't think that's solely because of just their popularity in Commander. I think it's because they're going to be a main story point, especially if you look at Kaldheim, where they were, Vorinclex was on the plane. I think the Phyrexian War is coming, and I don't think that the current Gatewatch is actually prepared or strong enough, right? Like, yes, you have Liliana and Chandra, they're still strong, but they need someone new. Gideon was kind of the leader. Gideon being gone is a big problem. So at least with Soren and Teferi being more involved in the story now coming up, it looks like they'll be able to maybe stand a bit of a chance, because you can't throw something like Will and Rowan and like Kea and Tybalt at the Phyrexians. It's just not going to work.
No, but I think if we were getting Soren, wouldn't we also get Nahiri?
They hate each other.
They do, but I feel like if Soren's coming back into his current self and he's kind of being renewed, I could see Wizards doing a redemption arc for the two of them.
I think that's like a good way to look at it. It seems like they're like setting the story out to be just like pretty. They're slow rolling it. They're revealing new worlds and trying to do new planeswalkers. I still really hope they go back to Arcavios. That's the Strixhaven one. That was one of the planes that I was the most excited for. Arcavios and what is the other set? Ikoria. I really, really think that both of those places have a lot more to offer. Because did Arcavios give us many new planeswalkers? I don't think so.
No, we had all lore planeswalkers that had already been in the lore.
Yeah, like I think it was just like Will and Rowan going about hanging out, and then like Liliana was there as Professor Onyx. But yeah, Soren being part of the story, I think is like actually pretty interesting. Yeah, so then basically with that, like we'll do a quick short one, because I don't want to only get halfway into the story for everyone. So we'll leave you guys there with just a quick episode today, some of the new legends, and on the next lore episode we'll be going through actually like the storyline front to back. You have a little bit of an idea of who's there. We'll go into it in greater detail. But yeah, we'll go to there, and that way we're not cutting the story off in the middle, and we'll start the next episode. We'll probably record tomorrow. That works. Yeah, we'll probably record tomorrow's episode that way. So thank you guys for listening to just this quick episode. There will probably be a bonus episode later in the week. If not, there will be one or two next week, because this is a lot of story. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked our content, feel free to check out www.intothe99.com, where everything we have is available. Follow us on Instagram. Check out the YouTube, both again under Into the 99. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed just the quick spurt of like new legendary creatures and what's going on with them. And yeah, we will go through the full Innistrad story shortly. Well, the Innistrad Crimson Vow, there's a lot more Innistrad. But yeah, thank you so much for taking a listen. Have a great week.